Dit is Argusoog Radio.
Een andere kijk op de wereld.
You're listening to Pateo Radio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Pateo Radio. My name is Johan Oldenkamp, and I have a special guest for you tonight. Our guest is coming from the United States, but he is currently present in the Netherlands, and he is a keynote speaker at the coming conference about breakthrough energy movement. Please welcome to our show Fernando Vossa. Fernando, please introduce yourself to the listeners if you can.
Johan, thank you so much for having me on your show. I want to thank you and the entire setup here in Holland to host such interesting conversations on technology, breakthrough energy, politics, finance. My background is very multidisciplinary. We're talking about combining architecture, technology, quantum physics, and fine art. My work involves healing technology and looking for sources of what is known as free energy. People have heard of things like 0 point, quantum, free energy. How are we going to go from an oil economy into the new age? So thank you for having me.
Great. Yeah, I see, Fernando, with very many of my guests that we all are multidisciplinary, and I think that's why we have been able to reach to breakthrough insights, because if you stay into one discipline, then it's very difficult to see parallels or see new ideas. So I'm really happy that you studied all those different aspects and were able to somehow combine it. So we can talk about any of these issues, but the main topic will be, I think, the quest for free energy and what exactly is it. So maybe we can start with that question.
Sure.
Do you have any idea of how it will look like? Free energy.
Let's go a little bit something that's close to your heart. The combination of science and consciousness, or what we might consider spirituality, right? We live in this separate world, this reality where we feel everything has a positive, negative, cold, hot, love, hate, the duality consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within that, we've developed technology where we want to force energy out of nature. We want to beat up and kick nature by explosion or direct, like a violation of matter, the way we do this with petrol, with nuclear, with burning coal. So one of the first things that happens in breakthrough energy is the understanding that we're dealing with something that is bigger than just physical matter. You know this, right?
Exactly.
There's an intelligence behind the way nature functions. Breakthrough energy is taking the concept of what was known as free energy, which we know is not free. We still have to develop it, we have to research it, and build an infrastructure for it. But the breakthrough is the thinking, the different thinking methods that scientists are using that combines the idea of magnetics, light, crystal, water, sound resonance. Isn't it exciting that now we can tap into how the earth was created, right?
Exactly. We are finally breaking through the barriers of understanding how nature really works, because I think most people talk about natural science, or the science of nature, or the laws of nature in science, but I don't think any of these things are correct, because they're all concepts of an old way of thinking, in which everything is based on a machine, is like things we have created so far. But nature works totally different. So I think we have to somehow revise our thinking, our theories, our methods, and so on, in order to understand the true nature of nature, the true working of nature, and be able to start copying it.
And Johan, this is where it gets interesting. Because we have an energy solution at the moment. The way we meter and measure the use of energy, it is a system of control that's been put in place. How do we centralize power? Electrical, energetic, gas, whatever you want. It mimics our political system, right?
Correct.
When we want to decentralize power, when we want to empower the individual, that's when things get interesting. Nature favors this decentralization because it builds redundancy into the system, and it also creates a free state that people can evolve and change on their own instead of a pyramid structure where control comes from one place. And isn't it funny how the language is interchangeable between politics and energy right now?
Yes, it's a really sensitive point you're touching now, Fernando. Because
we're going to go deep. Don't you worry.
No, we go. But I've tried to join the politics in the Netherlands because I thought it's time for a big change. But that old political system is based on a pyramid, and it's the opposite of where we're going through. It's not decentralized. It's very centralized. So I fully agree with you, but it puts my own efforts of the last months a little bit in a different perspective, because I also come to understanding that maybe the idea of running for participating in elections might not be the way forward from here. So,
well, the exciting part is that we are at a time where we are fed up with the old system. There is no two ways about it. Just go visit Madrid right now or go to Greece. Then we'll see what's happening. This is the same revolution that's taking place in the labs across the world. University students who no longer accept the paradigm that's being taught at the university. It's like the textbooks are broken. The teachers are not sure what to teach because things are changing by the day. Do you even feel the same person you were even a year ago, Johan?
I know I'm not the same person, but I look the same when I look in the mirror, or maybe slightly different, but my mind tries to create consistency. And that's why I don't see the change innerly that much, but I fully see it outside, and it's true what's going on. If I compare what's happening now with a year ago when we had the Occupy movement starting on October 15, and now we see the same kind of movement is now on October 13 called Global Noise. And it has been, it's true, it's going in many places, many cities. But we see that more and more people are joining the movement because they see that the old system is bankrupt. The financial system, the political system, the economical system, the social system, and so on. So we are ready for the breakthrough. In fact, we do need it in order to survive, I think. We can even go a step further.
Oh, yeah. So imagine how exciting it is that a grassroots effort right here in Holland began with a meeting at a restaurant where 4 individuals spoke about putting together a conference here. Where would be the entry point to Europe for breakthrough energy technology? There's an interesting question. How would we take scientific knowledge that challenges every aspect of our society, at the same time it challenges every aspect of money and control and politics? So it's heavily charged. This isn't like we're putting out a new kind of car or a boat. We are putting the effort into a solution. How do we go beyond the conspiracy aspects of the work? And how many people have you ever asked, well, do you know what free energy is? They don't even know it exists. Isn't that curious?
Yeah, it's very curious. Hardly anybody knows about the work of Nikola Tesla, for instance, because he was one of the greatest inventors we had in the last 700 years. But hardly anyone knows his work, and most people do know about Albert Einstein, but there is nothing they can really tell what Einstein invented or actually contributed apart from the atomic bomb. So there's a little bit of illiteracy or unknowingly, I'm not sure what the right word is, but people are unaware, ignorant of the fact that there have been very important scientists on this planet, like Nikola Tesla, but also Victor Schauberger and Edward Leach Kalnin and many others. But since we are ignorant of their work and their high standing ideas and theories, we struggle on with the old theories and the old paradigm, which has brought us, I think, hardly anything new, but only bigger problems.
You know, we want to get to the point where the average citizen on the street is excited about these changes, kind of like they get excited and they'll wait in line for 2 days to get the latest phone or the latest computer without saying any names, right? We want that kind of excitement and a sense of urgency for energy solutions, because that touches upon the entire medical industry, transportation. It touches every single aspect of our lives. So let me give you a couple of areas where breakthrough energy is making headway. First, we have advancement in prototypes. Some of the labs already have pieces of technology that expand the way we see science. One such group is Searle Magnetics, which was founded by Professor John Searle out of England. This gentleman is the living Tesla at the moment. And that type is not necessarily he's Tesla. He's redefining what a researcher can accomplish. In the 1940s and 50s, he developed flying inverse gravity disks, along with what we would consider abundant energy technology. How about the idea that we already have technology for teleportation, what we would consider time travel, and even more exotic stuff of quantum tunneling across dimensions? We have a hard time with the vocabulary of free energy. Imagine these other kinds of technologies. It gets even more complicated, right?
Well, to be honest, it is more easy to explain that to people because they have seen so many science fiction films on the television that they are able to grasp the idea. But hardly anyone knows that it's in fact possible right now with different technology, with different understanding. So I'm really happy that we created this conference because it's I think it will be able to break through to the bigger media and more people to help them understand what is possible. I really like, for instance, the video you made, the promotion film you made, Fernando.
Oh, thank you.
In which you address a lot of points, and I think you're doing exactly what you said earlier. You make people enthusiastic about the new energy and all the possibilities, and instead of focusing on the conspiracy that try to perhaps block this new development. So I think that's the right approach.
Is here to ask us a fresh set of questions, and don't take any dogmas that we have been sold as truth. How about the idea that we don't understand what light is, or water, or nature, or life, or anything that was taught to us in school? It's time to re-examine it. There is research to show that something as simple as what we know as crude oil is not what we think it is. It's not necessarily a derivative of fossil life. It is a naturally occurring substance that's part of the lubricant of the mantle of Earth. I think that if we start playing with oil and other technologies as a conscious living substance that wants to help us, life looks differently all of a sudden. Some people are already aware that just something as simple as the geometry, the shape of the technology changes the way it functions. So oil is not what we think it is.
No, I fully agree, Fernando, and this includes many other subjects that you had addressed before. Yeah. For instance, Masaru Emoto shows that water has memory and is a very living, nearly I think could call it an organism that is actually responding to consciousness and energy. So I think we're only on the tip of understanding what nature and our mother planet has to offer us, and how we can live in coexistence and mutual respect. I think that's the step forward from the new paradigm.
Oh, so, yes. One of the things that would be interesting to the listening audience is that the Breakthrough Energy Conference that's happening in this November 9 through 11 in Hilversum is designed not only for those who are seeking technical knowledge, but also for those who just want to understand what the heck we're talking about. We want to make it very accessible to the person on the street. And the conference is divided into 3 days. The first day is the technology, that's the Friday, then the implications, and then the future, to give us a glimpse of what's coming up next.
Yeah, I think the program is marvelous, Fernando. You have been with this conference, the organization, since the very beginning, if I'm correct.
No, I'm actually a latecomer. I'm a recent recruit from California. I was sitting on the beach over there in Baja.
Okay. Well,
I
I did
put out some of my, several friends as I'm developing prototypes of technology. Mm-hmm. One technology that I've developed is called Sonic Reiki, for those who know about healing and energy work. And the idea was to combine magnetics, crystal, and sound and light as a way to inspire the body to heal itself. So my friends would come to my lab and see my projects and my testing, and it's one of those where, as an artist, we never think it's perfect, right? But the audience says it's time to get it out. You have to share this with the world. So the Breakthrough Energy team had seen one of my videos and some of my work I've done on radio talking about free energy, and they said, you have to come to Holland, and we have to make this happen. But I didn't want to just come and be a speaker. I wanted to make sure this conference happened, and that was how I decided to come here from California and commit to Breakthrough Energy happening.
Yeah, because you're already in the Netherlands at this moment, as we speak.
I am here for 3 months.
Whoa.
And I've gotten an opportunity to travel not only in the beautiful city of Amsterdam, but also in Friesland. So it's been amazing to have herring on the harbor where everybody thought I was going to pass out, and it was great. It's like the Holland sushi.
Okay. But of course the weather has been a little bit of a difference. I assume it was quite nice weather when you left California.
It's not a problem because I grew up in Alaska, so snow and ice. It's part. Okay. It's funny because I'm Mexican by heritage. I'm French, Spanish, Portuguese, born in Mexico, but I grew up in Alaska. Can you believe that?
I believe you, but it sounds a bit like you traveled all over. Whoa.
Well, the first things that I encounter in a place like Alaska, like at many places in the United States, heavy military presence. You see the bases, the testing of all kinds of different airplanes. You see phenomena near military bases, and I used to live by one in Anchorage, Alaska, and that's where I got that first clue that the military is doing more than just defending this country. I wanted to know, where was our money going? Trillions and trillions of dollars into what is known as black projects. Mm-hmm. And I'm not scared of conspiracy, so we can open any can of worms you like.
Yeah, I also see that, Fernando, and I see that the military is very interested in both the North and the South Pole, and a lot of things have been written about that, of course. Do you have, to your understanding, is it related to something that might be possible at the North or the South physical pole of this planet?
I believe yes, because it seems strange that we are not allowed to fly over the north and south in commercial airliner jets. It seems like most geosynchronous orbits of satellites are steered away from the poles. And one of our speakers is going to be planning and I want to make sure I get some of these details right, a navigation scientific expedition to the South Pole. This is Brooks Agnew, who's going to be talking at our conference on solar mass ejections. So we're going to have to push him a little bit to share some insight on this journey to find an entrance to the center of the Earth from Antarctica. Doesn't that sound exciting?
That sounds very exciting because there's a lot of speculation going on and so-called reports from I think it was Captain Bird, but I'm just not sure.
Captain Bird.
Yeah. But I've not seen real hardcore evidence about it. So if that would be possible at the conference, I would really appreciate it.
Sure, and one of our other speakers, his name is Joel Garbin, who is also based in Alaska, who's going to share with us about HARP technology, and he's written a very interesting book that says angels don't play this harp. Those are the kind of what looks like military projects. I'm sorry, it was Nick Begich. I want to make sure I get that one right. The idea is that we have examples of breakthrough energy right in front of our very faces, and HARP is one of those. Also, whatever technology was used to bring down the towers in 9/11 in New York.
Yeah, of course, that's also very interesting because it's even for a non-expert like me very clear that it's not an explosion but more a kind of an implosion, and everybody knows that those buildings were never able to collapse based on the collision with two airplanes. That's just totally impossible. So
well, we're going to be able to go much deeper with Dr. Judy Wood, who's also one of our speakers, who's going to give us some very compelling evidence of breakthrough energy technology being used at the 9/11 event.
Well, it seems all coming together, those 3 important days in November, 9 until 11. For the audience, if you want to find more about this conference, please go to globalbem.org, and there's a lot of information about the program and the speakers. But please continue, Fernando. Yeah.
globalbem.com.
.com. I'm sorry. .com. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we're there. Do we still have to say www?
No, nobody has to do that. But BEM, we think it's good to say that. But yeah, it's easy. Also, on the information about this radio show, the link is there, so people can find it.
that I found interesting in my research is there's a very interesting correlation between what we would consider abundant energy. Another term that's been used is over-unity, where you get back more than you put in, and healing technology for the body. And one of the common elements is the frequency, vibration, and resonance. The same things that Tesla told us to pay attention to, right?
Exactly.
So how just amazing would it be that the same technology that's powering a building, such as a hospital, could also structure the water in that building, sonically tune the building to frequencies that resonate with our body, clean the air by reducing the pollen count and particle count, and also provide electricity. But not the type of electricity that we're used to. You know, one of the problems, Johan, is that we don't want to just build another black box that you plug into your house and you go on about your day with your microwave and your toaster. We want to bring a solution that harmonizes with your body. You step into your home and you feel relaxed. The stress drains away. Your defense system, your immune system is recharged. You are able to re-youth while you're in your home. Doesn't that sound interesting?
I know it's very possible. It's very, very interesting, of course, but also very necessary for many, many people at this moment. Because when we look at the statistics for healthcare and how people are feeling at this moment, it's going dramatically bad. So I think it's very, very much time that we upgrade our technology in this direction and help ourselves and our environment to become healthy again and in balance.
For us holistic thinkers, when we say the word energy, we're talking about all of creation. There's no separation between how we apply it, right? So the same way you really push to join spirituality and science, we have that on the entire spectrum of knowledge. What if we join all fields of science and unify them, just like we're wanting to unify the understanding of energy in the universe? What happens there is that we start building what we would consider technology that harmonizes with our body. It's not separate from us. When we look at our cars, our computers, our buildings, isn't it crazy how they are so alien to us? If you want to see aliens on Earth, look at the things that we build. It doesn't belong to nature.
No.
You know, one of the interesting things is when I was studying science in school, you know how they show the table of elements up on the wall of chemistry?
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, where is love in there? Where are emotions? Where's dreaming or intuition, right? So to me, that whole paradigm of empirical science didn't represent reality to me, not my reality. Have you ever had that disconnection?
It's very remarkable that you give this example, Fernando, because I'm writing a book. I started it today, and this is exactly the example I wrote down in the first chapter. So there is no such thing as coincidence, and I'm really happy that you bring it on.
You know, we have a small article in Spiegelbild magazine. Did I say that halfway right?
Yes, good. No, it's fully correct in Dutch.
which we mentioned this. So we're going to have to, you and I, get together and write an article specifically on this disconnection, huh?
Would be great. Yeah. The title is Dutch for a mirror image, but probably somebody has told you that.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice magazine with a lot of in-depth articles, and I'm really happy that the editor was so willing to promote our conference in the upcoming episode, issue. How do you call it?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So look for that November issue.
Yes.
One of the things that we are looking at right here in Holland is if you look at talk to the average citizen on the street and ask them, they're usually more keen on the problems than the solutions. How actually are we going to fix the energy crisis, the monetary situation? Imagine countries like Spain right now becoming sovereign, saying we don't want the euro in our country. We want to have our own currency, our own energy solution, and our own health technology without relying on anybody else for it, right?
Right.
But Holland can do the same thing. Holland can become a sovereign nation, or they produce their own energy and not dependent on the oil economy anymore. It's a bold proposition, isn't it?
No, yeah, but it's exactly the name we chose for our political party to join the elections. It started with the word sovereign. So that's our ambition, to be independent and reliable on only yourself, because that brings back balance into the whole planet and all parts of it. So I'm really happy that there is now a major debt crisis, a euro crisis going on in Europe, and more and more countries are realizing that this Titanic is going nowhere. It's only going down. So it's time to abort and find something that is more sustainable.
The problem that's happening in science, when we go so deep into the mathematics and the formulas, and Tesla warned us about this, that we lose sight of reality. Whatever the formulas predict is not necessarily what reality reflects. One of the problems in science is that we have these beautiful models and we can create some very interesting tools with them, but they break down when you look at reality. It's this pesky, inconvenient thing, isn't it? It doesn't fit in the books.
No, it's true. Our technology and our science is based on, I can call it intrusion, or maybe even rape, to use a very heavy word.
Now, before
nature,
give science any more hits and throw stones, I want the audience to know that I am also a scientist, and I have this love-hate relationship with empirical science, because I don't accept that just because we can't measure something, we can't study it, or we can't contemplate it as a reality. It's time we break away from that, don't you think?
True, fully agree, Fernando. I am also a scientist, and I really love science in the sense that we try to explain everything and get further. But to be honest, most scientific theories or theories we find at the universities are not explaining anything. They're only describing. And a description doesn't give any new insight. So most people don't see it, and they talk about scientific proof, which is mostly only statistical and is easily you can easily prove the opposite with the same technique. So that's not real science. Real science for me offers genuine explanations, and those explanations can help us to become more in balance, to become more in harmony with everything around us, and be able to harvest, for instance, the energies that are everywhere around us, but we are not able to understand what it is and how we can use it.
And I'll give an example to the audience of how breakthrough energy, the research is breaking our understanding of every aspect of science. One of the teams, which I mentioned earlier, the Magnetics team, is working with what seems to be coherent magnetic fields. Coherence is achieved like when we see lasers, right? It's like a purity. The spiritual vocabulary would be truth. The closer you approach truth, the closer you get to superconductivity. Imagine magnets being like a prism of light, that magnetic fields can be generated tuned to different frequencies. And the frequency would have a lot to say with what the magnetic field is doing. So inverse gravity may have a certain kind of geometry and frequencies. Healing magnetics would also have a different resonance and different geometry. Or if you are wanting to replicate matter, for example, or transmute matter from one state to another, all of those different things are in the realm of spectral magnetics. Isn't that phenomenal, the concept?
Yeah, it's very phenomenal, and I think that's also the key to understanding, because to me, electricity and magnetism are the two key forces of nature, and we are hardly getting anywhere in understanding what magnetism and electricity truly is. So also on those two subjects we need to do a lot of more research, but I'm quite certain that if we understand magnetism and electricity, then we understand what free energy or tachyon energy or 0-point energy is.
I love it. Just to clarify that I'm an artist first and what I would consider a scientist second. To me, mathematics is like the bureaucracy of science. It's the same in business. The paperwork is the bureaucracy that slows things down, doesn't accelerate it. Isn't that? I know that sounds a little bit harsh to say. What happens in finance, it's also that system that's in front that impedes flow. We get friction at every aspect of the control systems. And I think we're at a breaking point, don't you think?
Yeah, because the old way of looking at things, the old way of approaching at the moment is collapsing. It's no longer bringing us anything. It only creates more and more problems. So I'm not really a fan of Albert Einstein, but he said the famous words that we cannot solve a problem at the same level it arose. So we need to jump to a higher level of understanding in order to solve all the problems we have created on this planet. And that's why we need to break through the glass ceiling, so to say, and step up to a higher level of understanding of science.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me lay out a little bit of the landscape of breakthrough energy. Mm-hmm. First, we have the scientific research. And this goes on in independent labs, sometimes in people's garage, or sometimes we have these renegade scientists that are fed up with whoever they work for. If they work for the military, or they work for a pharmaceutical or a corporation, we have what we call light workers awakening through the entire field. Then we have the policymakers and people involved in business and finance who have a relationship with energy, which is pretty much everybody, right? Mm-hmm. The same way we have geniuses in the labs, we also want to recruit geniuses in business and in health and in other fields to come to the table with breakthrough energy. What really is missing is infrastructure. We don't have a funding mechanism. Like if I was going to create a new drug that would slow down cancer, but not enough to cure you, boy, I would be funded in 10 seconds. Or if I create a drug that, that would make you perform better in bed, boom, I got $1 billion worth of funding. But if I want to put forward a solution that challenges science and creates an entire economy outside of the control structure, you can imagine what happens, right? They show you the door.
Yeah, well, I've been there a couple of times, Fernando.
Well, paradigm, that's also a dogma. Even I have to challenge my own dogmas and say, universities now want to wake up. Corporations want to wake up. The military wants to wake up. There are people at all levels who are now helping us. And that's very inspirational, isn't it?
It's very inspirational, and it's also a long-awaited welcome, so to say, because we are all at the same page. I think at least we have the same ambition to bring this world into a higher level, so that we can live in harmony and without worries. And it's possible when we join hands and when we are able to step over our differences and focus on the things we have in common. So I'm really happy that these doors are now opening, Fernando, because I've been banging on the doors of universities for a couple of years now, and every time it was the same response, that they thought I was totally crazy. But
well, we are crazy. I can accept the label, by the way. I have no problem with it. One of the areas of research that I do is in the UFO research. And this is one of those sensitive issues that it always is going to come up. Mm-hmm. We use the night vision equipment and point it toward the stars, as a researcher named Ed Grimsley taught us to do. What is moving out there? There's all kinds of objects that are not satellites. They change directions. They fly at enormous distances in a matter of seconds, and those things aren't running on diesel. That's not jet fuel up there, right? We're talking about 300 kilometers up in the atmosphere. We have a way of transforming what is UFO research into an experimental science, because that's one of the questions that comes up in disclosure and government sharing what they know. As soon as we say that there's interstellar ships, the next question is, how are they powered? And that opens up some very interesting opportunities.
Exactly, because this technology has already been developed 70 years ago in Germany by a guy like Victor Schauberger, for instance.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it was all brought back to the United States mostly with the Operation Paperclip. So this technology is here for long, and but it's as you said before, it's mostly in black ops, and it's not really open to the public. But I think it's more than time to do that. So is there also a speaker, Fernando, on the conference about UFO technology or UFO sightings or things like that?
Here's what we decided to do. First, we're going to say that we acknowledge and value the UFO perspective, because almost everybody in our conference is involved one way or another in exopolitical research. Exopolitics is more the formal term of the diplomacy of extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, I've heard that.
We have some speakers that are going to be sharing insights when they deal with government operations or they deal with exotic technologies. Some of the research shows that they were reverse engineered from fallen craft. But here's the thing. We want to focus on solutions. How can we implement tools that can help us right now? And yes, we want to have another conference where we do address more of the extraterrestrial nature of what we're doing. And I'll give you an interesting example. When we research what we would consider a breakthrough energy, we're asking a different set of questions. We know that there's intelligence built in to every form of energy. That means there's no true randomness in what we're looking at. It's just chaotic. But somehow particles, matter, energy fields, they all structure themselves around some form of intelligence. For the stars in the sky are not just thrown out randomly. They are filaments, like our brain cells, like the cells in our body, in our tissue. So this is hinting at whatever we think is life, is having two legs and arms, or breathing or whatever, we're expanding the definition. We feel that magnetics is a form of consciousness. So is light. So is electricity. Every aspect is intelligent. And here's where it gets interesting. All we have to do is ask the energy to work with us. In the labs, what we're looking at, Johan, is that our own consciousness, the thoughts that the scientists have, affect the experiment so much that the same free energy device won't function in another lab without the creator with the experiment. This is really opening up a whole new set of directions, isn't it?
It certainly is, and that's why the old paradigm is refuting it so much, because it cannot be repeated in a different circumstance. But it doesn't understand that it actually is proving why it is the new paradigm. But let me get you right, Fernando. What you are saying is that intelligence to you is the same as the organizing principle, and that everywhere in nature, or even if it looks chaotic to our opinion, there is of course a hidden underlying structure. That the structure is created by something, and that has to be intelligence. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, and I want to extend that a little bit. I quoted something recently that I said, everywhere we look, we're going to find life. And everywhere we're not looking is consciousness. It's kind of like the wave-particle paradox. As soon as we pay attention to it, it becomes a particle. When we stop looking, it becomes a wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about the idea that our definition of what is consciousness, what is alive, it's time to expand that. In the consciousness spirituality field, we recognize that we have a physical body, but we also have a spiritual body that's energetic, emotional. This is the body that you travel with when you go dreaming, when you're in a coma. What are the ways that we can join this with the physical sciences? So how about we come up with a set of instruments that can measure consciousness, measure the energetic states of our body, and be able to experiment with that? You know, a guru once said to me, if you want to study infinity, what instruments are you using to study it? We have to develop conscious, living instruments that can show us multidimensional reality. Then it gets really interesting.
Exactly, because with finite instruments you can never measure infinity. It's impossible. What is your idea about the dimensions? Because many people talk about it, but mostly when I try to understand what they are saying, it's very confusing to me. Some people talk about the fourth or the fifth dimension, thinking that there are more spatial dimensions than three, which to me is not possible. But I'm really looking forward to hear
I'll give you a little bit of
light.
take on this.
Yeah, please do.
If everything in the universe is one, we are all made out of the same part of existence, which is, for lack of vocabulary, consciousness or love. Love is a substance. That's actually the only thing there is from that spiritual point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other understanding that's a little bit more complicated for the mind to deal with is that everything is happening from this point of focus that we are in, this zero infinite point of the now, the right here, right now. There is no out there. There's only this, what you're looking at. When you look around the very moment, right there in your chair where you are right now, this is what the universe is doing right now. You, looking through your eyes. How does this relate to breakthrough energy? If we knew that everything was one, then we know that one form of energy or another form of energy is coming from the same understanding, the same reality. Let me extend this a little bit further. What if consciousness was kind of like the electromagnetic spectrum that they teach us? There's visible spectrum, and then there's infrared and ultraviolet and gamma rays, right? You remember that one?
Of course.
Imagine consciousness also has that entire spectrum where at one level of vibration, we are physical. At another level of vibration or frequency, we are energetic. And the thoughts and ideas that we can contemplate also have to do with what our bodies look like at that moment. So if I was to raise my vibration, you've heard that in spiritual talk, I can actually contemplate a bigger reality, more bandwidth. And when we transition out of this physical garment, our bodies, we are still present in the universe, in creation. We are looking at a higher vibrational state. It's like going from the visible spectrum of light into beyond gamma rays of energy. The multidimensional description of third dimension, fourth dimension, I think those are just artifacts of our third dimensional bias, our linearity, our separation consciousness. It's more like all of the dimension is here, now, all the time. We just have to tune the radio into them. Does that help?
Exactly. Yeah, that's also the way I see it and try to explain it in my books. And in fact, it's a kind of a scale, and we can go up and go down in vibration. And at a certain moment, we will reach, a kind of perhaps the veil, which has been talked about.
The famous veil, right?
The famous veil, and then we can go through that veil and go perhaps to another reality, which will have many surprises for us. And I do think sometimes objects come from other side of the veil into our reality and disappear again. At least that's what I like to think. So it fully resonates with what you're saying, but that helps. This kind of thinking helps me more, the vibrational hierarchy, than thinking in discrete dimensions where you can enter and be. Because I think it's like I said before, it's a scale where it goes up and down.
I'll show you one simple example just within your own mind. When we are talking about everyday things, we accept that oil and gas work, right? But we have a hard time accepting that teleportation is real. Or something more abstract. When you ask somebody, do you believe in a planet that could be without any war, peaceful forever? Could we handle that idea in our heads and say, yes, that really could happen? The dimensional leap in your mind that you have to make to know this, to believe it, and know that it's true, that we can have a planet that's free and no wars and peaceful, it's a dimensional jump. It's not that easy for people to make. Because the traditional response is, oh, well, human nature is, we're violent, and we're always going to have disagreements. That's not my reality. In my mind, in my consciousness, a free planet is real, and it can happen. A planet that functions without money is very real in my consciousness, and that's what I'm heading toward. I don't have to ask if it can happen. You know, what I do is, instead of saying, I need to see it to believe it, you have to believe it before you can actually see it.
Yeah, that's the paradox we have here. What I really like is the film Avatar, not all the violence in it, but the people who lived on that distinct planet and the way they were living in harmony with nature. So I fully agree with you. It's possible, and this Hollywood production show that it's not very difficult to create if we want to.
Yes, and when we're in school, even from primary school, when we're very young, are we teaching our kids to grow their creativity and the amount of thoughts that they can hold, or are we limiting their ability to dream? This is where that descent starts. We're going from higher awareness, where children are innocent. That means that they can contain any idea. They have enough room in their brain pan. But what we do is we start constricting it by saying, we live in a limited, controlled world. You're not allowed to do this or that. Imagine if a child says, I want to be able to clean up the planet, and it's going to take a lot of energy to filter all the water in the ocean. We're right away going to say, well, that's impossible. We don't have enough energy to do that. Well, what's being said in breakthrough thinking is there is enough abundance in the universe to dream and think about reality in any way you want. I would like to instigate breakthrough thinking in schools throughout the world, where kids can visualize with technology a free planet, a clean planet, a planet without the use of money in the way it's being used right now, a planet that has no borders, so they can believe that it's true and real. That's breakthrough energy for me.
And it gives so much energy. I've been in a previous life a management consultant, and I did a lot of sessions with management teams where we helped them to think out of the box. But I saw that every time we were successful in that, there was so much energy coming free from all the board members. It was really fascinating to witness that. So, and it's also true for children. When I look at my own children, for instance, I see that they get a lot of energy when they are free in what they can think and what they can do. So it's somehow we connect ourselves to the source and become more filled with energy. That's at least how I try to describe it.
Oh yes, one of our speakers is a researcher named Michael Tellinger, who's coming from South Africa. Now, I've spent some time with Michael in California, where we hosted his conference, and also I went down to South Africa and visited the ruins. Have you heard about this guy, Michael Tellinger?
I've heard about it, but I've not studied his work thoroughly, but I've certainly heard about him.
Imagine artifacts and ruins and archaeology sites that are not 3,000-4,000 years old, but 100 to 200,000 years old. Somehow, these stone circles have been constructed throughout all of South Africa. You can see them on Google Earth. And if people want to find that, look up Michael Tellinger and Adam's calendar. Imagine structures made out of this dense quartzonite substance that rings when you hit it against another rock. Take two rocks and hit them together in these ruins, and it sounds like a tuning fork. Bing! And they ring. Who knew this technology 100, 200,000 years ago? How is it that there are structures that seem to be emanating energy fields in the gigahertz? You know what I'm saying? We don't even have instruments to accurately measure and understand the energy these structures are putting out, right? So
Yes.
that puts into question our understanding of human origins, our understanding of at what level each civilization was. And I'll tell you, Johan, from the evidence worldwide, we are not the most advanced technology civilization that ever lived. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even look like we're on the playing field, right?
We're not in the top 10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting for Michael Tellinger to share with us at the conference what are the implications of his research in breakthrough energy, and really what did our really old ancestors know that could help us right now.
Yeah, once we start understanding that, then we are able to for instance, rebuild pyramids like with the same precision and with the same in-depth knowledge hidden in it, like the Great Pyramid in Gizeh, because I'm most certain that it has been built with resonance technology, where we're able to somehow bring the so-called force of gravity, which I don't think is a real force, but it's something else. Somehow we're able to contra work. I'm not sure the right wording here, but somehow neutralize it. Yeah. most listeners will understand it. But that kind of technology will become available to us again, and then we will, I think we'll start a new episode of mankind on this planet.
Oh, yes. So imagine that when we're in school learning about the pyramids or ancient structures, what if teachers were able to say, here's what appears to be in front of us, but truly we really don't know how the pyramids were built. I think it's time to humble ourselves a little bit and be open to some new answers. Don't you think in education it's important to just say, here's what we don't know, but feel free to look at it and come up with your own ideas how this was done, right?
Yeah, exactly. That stimulates the creativity and the intelligence much more. And we do have to say that we don't know, because there are pyramids now underwater on the coast of Cuba, and most certainly that they were not built underwater. So there's a lot of things we certainly have no real answer to. So humility is really necessary at the moment, I think.
One of the lessons that we can learn from indigenous cultures is the unity consciousness, the understanding that there is no separation between our spirituality and our science and our devotion and pretty much any activity. Their observing of the cosmos, tracking of the star systems, all of that was based on beliefs and their relationship to the planet. It's like you couldn't tear apart or separate any aspect of their life, right?
Exactly.
We've lost that. We're so disconnected, we might as well be the extraterrestrials right now.
Yeah, we took the road from divide and conquer, and it brought us a lot of insights, but it also put a lot of unnecessary confusion on the table. I like to bring everything together. I don't call it unity consciousness, I call it wholeness consciousness, and the science that connects
Holy
everything.
science.
Yeah, I call it holy science, but then not with W and double L. But it's the science of the whole of everything.
Oh, yes. So what happens when we start making these relationships again, start unifying the scientific fields? When I was growing up, to me there was no separation between anthropology and studying history and then jumping into physics. It was all tied for me. And then when I became an architect and started doing fine art later, it was all the same bed of information, the whole foundation. It was easy for me to flow from one field to another. So I think it's going to be important to nurture young minds that can freely flow between all disciplines without getting turned off, you know. The arguments we're going to have is not whether something is measurable or not, or whether it's scientific or not. We're going to be discovering this free flow of communicating with Gaia, our mother planet. If we want to be able to fold space, we can ask the question, how do we teleport or create portals, or how did the ancients do it? Many scientists that I deal with don't even have that vocabulary to be able to ask those questions.
Yeah. And now you really turn into the lane of spirituality, because I'm convinced that when we are open to the answers, then the cosmos is answering every question we ask, if our intentions are pure. So this opens a totally new way forward by being humble and pure. I think everything is possible.
Well, here's an interesting direction with that unification. When talking about free energy, we want to ask questions of all we need to do is tap into it. It's already there. We don't have to create anything. Because the understanding of burning fossil fuels or creating nuclear fusion, it also puts energy as an external thing, that it's out there. It's kind of like when we're healing the body, we feel that the cure is outside somewhere in a pill or some kind of chemotherapy treatment, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to have a Dr. Bruce Lipton in Holland here in a couple of days, October 10th and Wednesday, and he's being brought to us by Bliz Events, B-L-I-Z. And what's interesting about Dr. Lipton's work is he proposes that our perception of our environment, it's what programs DNA, our bodies, not the other way around. We think we're victims to our genetic heritage, but what drives it is our intention, exactly what you just said, our awareness. So when we build weaponized systems, when we build machines to kill, it's very difficult to undo that, because the very atomic structure of the matter is imprinted with the original intention to kill other humans. And the reason why I'm passionate about this is because when we start building technology in a peaceful way, it cannot be weaponized. And this is completely counterintuitive. The breakthrough energy technology will not be able to be weaponized. And this puts us into another humanity, doesn't it?
This will certainly open the door to a new way of living, and at the same time close the door to the old way of violence and suppression and all those horrible things we've done for thousands of years.
Yeah, so, if you try to explode one of these bombs made out of this new thinking, all that's going to happen is trees are going to grow better and people are going to get healthier, and we're going to be more creative in that area. Instead of killing children in Iran, why don't we heal the forests and bring clean water to these places? So I'm sorry, I just had to get a little rant out of there.
No, that's fascinating. Yes. I'm looking at the time, Fernando, and our hour has been flown by extremely quickly. So I think I have to invite you again for another radio show. I was ready for the second hour, but thank you so much for this opportunity to go deep on some of these subjects. Yeah, thank you very much. It was a very pleasant talk, Fernando. And I invite the audience to come see the Breakthrough Energy Conference this November. Get online, get a ticket, show us that you really care. Yes, please do so. Please do so. Any information you can find on, I say it again, the website globalbem.com. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Johan. It was very nice to have you. Thank you, audience, for listening. And the next radio show of next week will be in Dutch, and it will be about the global noise manifestation that will happen this Saturday, for instance in Amsterdam, but then also in many other cities. So again, thank you for listening, and hope to hear you next time.
teaching, even though I can't explain. More than a dream that you are reaching, more than a laugh that shadows all the pain. A special meaning in the thorn of dreams, in the garden where thought can blind me. 'Cause I am lost here, where it never gleams, where I found that I scream so blindly. Yeah. Until I rise up, fall down. Is this the reason that I can't feel the ground? Am I waiting for my tomorrow, or should I say goodbye? Yeah. Well, am I walking with a purpose? 'Cause I feel the same. And as I wait for my dreams to surface, as I wait I'm drowning in the rain. Just when I thought that it was over, I lost my grip and I hit the wall. A simple dream that I tripped over. Now I have to wake up to my fall, my fall. Until I rise up, fall down. Is this the reason that I can't feel the ground? Am I waiting for my tomorrow, or should I say goodbye? Yeah. Until I rise up, fall down. Is this the reason that I can't feel the ground? Am I waiting for my tomorrow, or should I say goodbye? Oh no, rise up, fall down. Is this the reason that I can't feel